Hey there, it's Seth, and in this video I'm going to give you a simple way that you can refine any kind of movement that may be a part of your movement practice using your breath. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so here's the thing. Your breathing, moment by moment, is changing depending on how well you are supporting yourself and how efficiently you are distributing the work of the muscles throughout your body. So if you were just standing or sitting as I'm doing right now, and you have more or less, let's say, pretty good upright posture, but then you sort of, you kind of just slump a little bit. Literally, try this. Just come to a place where you feel pretty good, pretty upright, and just listen to a breath or two and see how well do you fill your chest, how much air do you take in, and then just kind of slump a little bit. And you should immediately be able to feel that the breath does not move through the same, that you can't have the same kind of a satisfying breath. So if you want to know what is good posture, well, we could talk about that a long time, but a simple way of thinking of it, good posture is a posture in which you can breathe comfortably. Okay, so if we know that, we can begin to notice even the tiniest little deviation. So I sort of did this like, oh yeah, obviously I'm slumping. But if you look at my head now, if I just sort of slightly sag like this, you can do the same experiment. Try slumping again, but do the smallest, the tiniest little bit of just having the sense that your head is not quite sitting on the top of your spine. And listen, because there too, you ought to be able to feel the difference. And this is very important because if you're working on your tennis swing or you're working on a particular yoga posture, any kind of particular movement that you're working on, if you'd be willing to kind of slow down the movement for a moment and just feel, how do I take my arm through the air? Or what's going on when I, maybe in a posture, I bring my arms out to the side. If you lift your arms up and you hold your arms into the air, how are you breathing? Well, if you look at my head, if I lift my arms like this and I kind of sink as I lift my arm because my arms are not connected to the rest of me, how am I breathing then versus if I really think of rising and supporting through my spine, through my torso, through my bottom on the chair. I happen to be sitting on a chair right now, but however I'm using the support, if all of that's clear, it's going to show up in my breath. So let me give you another specific kind of example, something that you can try out. So bring your arm up like this, and you can see I basically have my hand right over my elbow. And just do this and listen to your breathing for a moment. Okay, notice how it is. You've got one arm up, the other one down, so there's a asymmetry to your shape. You might feel that the breath is a little different through one side of your chest than the other. But then notice, is the hand directly over the elbow or not? And start to play with that. Start to take the elbow a little to the outside and just hold it there. And then bring the elbow more or less right back under the hand. While you're doing this, listen to your breathing. How do you breathe when the elbow's right underneath? How do you breathe here? And keep making this experiment. Keep going back and forth. Pay attention to the ribs right under your armpit. How do they move with the breath when the elbow's right under? And then what happens if the elbow comes out? You might feel changes elsewhere. If you listen to the quality in the roof of your mouth, I mean behind the hard palate, but a little further back just before we get to the throat, the soft palate in the back of your mouth, just feel the muscles there. Are they tight? Are they loose? Take the elbow out. Does something happen? You may or may not feel that one. That's a subtlety. But you're right near the top of your spine there, and this is also the place where you're breathing, right? You're breathing, I hope you're breathing through the nose most of the time, but even if you're breathing through the mouth, you're going down, that passageway right through that area. And if there's a tension there, if there may be a restriction in the airflow. If the ribs tighten here, that's going to change the airflow. You can take your arm down for a moment. And in fact, even though you didn't seem to do much there, you were just kind of trying this experiment out, listening to the breath here, listening to it here, you might feel something's a little different on that side. If you turn your head to one side and the other, you might actually feel that one side of the neck feels longer after doing an experiment like this. Because the thing is, even though you spent part of the time doing something where the breath was restricted, because you were paying attention, you clarified something for yourself in that part of your body about the support. So if you come to the other side, just to repeat the experiment, the thing now to do is, if you can tell that your breath is different here as opposed to here, what about here versus just here? You want to try to make the experiment so that you can find a smaller and smaller degree of difference. And when you notice that difference in your breathing, that's all you need to do. Because what this kind of training can do for you is that when you're working on the particular movement that concerns you, you're going to much more quickly notice that moment where maybe you're collapsing a little, but what we tend to do is, what do? We muscle through, right? And that word, that phrase, muscle through, it's a pretty good one, because what happens is, if I'm not really supported, but you can see I didn't fall on the floor just now. What I did was I substituted my muscles for the lack of skeletal support. So again, this is just kind of simple, but if you think of this as your head on top of your spine, this head is over the base of support, and this one isn't. And that is precisely why the breath is affected, because when more muscles come online and contract just to keep you upright, it's going to restrict the movement of the diaphragm in your chest, and it's going to make breathing a little more difficult. The great thing about this, though, is you can begin to listen to your breath moment by moment by moment when you are practicing something that's important to you. And if you're willing to slow down and you really want to refine something, this is a beautiful tool to do just that. I hope this was helpful to you. I'm going to be making many more videos like this, just giving you little tips and tricks, if you want to call it that, about things that you can use in your movement practice. I've got a number of videos actually about breathing, in particular if you're interested in Wim Hof method. I got a series of videos related to that. I'm developing videos for yogis. So subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Love to stay in touch with you. And also check out the caption. You'll see that there's some other programs available if you want to dive a little deeper. All right, I'll see you next time.